Thank you for tuning in to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Please subscribe to our weekly Boston Bruins hockey talk on listening platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, and Spotify Podcasts. We'd certainly appreciate it if you give our show a 5-star rating along with a written review. You can also subscribe to our official YouTube channel for a video version of our weekly program. If you'd like to support our show financially, please go to our blackandgoldhockey.com website and click on our affiliated Fanatics banner before shopping online. Another way to financially support our weekly program is to become a Patreon member to be eligible for weekly Boston hockey prizes and monthly Boston Bruins hand-signed jersey giveaways. Please go to patreon.com/blackandgoldhockeypodcast and donate just $1 per episode. Many thanks for the continued support and enjoy the show.
Behind the net to Sanderson, Orr! Bobby Orr! Orr from the Boston Bruins!
30 seconds left in the period. The Bruins are shorthanded. Ray Bork from the face-off circle to the right of Reggie Lindman. Fired it down and Whitmore blew it.
Did he ever?
To Bergeron on the drive, save, rebound, he's loose, Sagan kicks him loose, Bergeron scores! The Bruins close on! With the point of the dagger in their throats, they rip it out into Orr's hands and kill the beast! The Boston Bruins have won it after being 3 down in the third!
What's up, Bruins fans? Welcome back to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. This is episode 292, and it's brought to you by betonline.ag. Please go to betonline.ag and use that code CLNS50. We have a big show today. Lots of topics. We literally went out and dug out some stuff to talk about, all Bruins related, and we continue the off-season hockey talk every week here at the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. And joining me, as always, is fellow host Kevin O'Keefe. Kevin, how you doing, my friend?
Doing awesome, man. It's been a great week, great weekend so far, and time to talk some hockey with the boys.
Absolutely. And down below, and his famous term, Google it, is Dom Tiano. Dom, how you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Ready to talk some hockey. Mention that Bruins 5th round pick Frederic Brunet's birthday is today. He turns 19. And excited to see what Kevin has to eat during this podcast.
Nothing, Dom. Spoiler alert.
A little pre-show meal, but yeah, we won't talk about that.
Please tell me we don't have to sing happy birthday to Brunette now.
No.
Do we not have to?
No.
Okay, good.
Did anybody?
My singing voice is not up to par this morning.
The internet delay made that song so bad.
Yeah.
We sounded like 3 drunken sailors.
Love it.
Well, we probably were.
No, I probably was. No, but anyway, we do have a ton of stuff to talk about. But I do want to mention something that it is the off season. This is a great time to learn about creating digital content covering the Boston Bruins organization. We need more writers and podcasters. So if you want to jump on board this B&G freight train, reach out to me at Black and Gold Productions LLC at gmail.com. Let me know what you want to do, what kind of content you'd like to provide. I also want to mention, and I will put the link in the show notes, we do have a new Discord server, so if you want to interact that way, it's more or less like a text machine. We just sit there and talk. We have great folks. We have Kevin, we have Dom, we have Maria from Watertown in the Discord now, so we're looking forward to talking to her. Yeah, and I'll put the link in the show notes. But we also have a Black and Gold Hockey Podcast listener hotline. So if you want to call from Monday to Friday and leave us a Boston Bruins related question, a brief one, please, more or less like a tweet, just a 280 character, but just keep it brief, and we'll do our best to put that on the program and answer all your questions. Or if you want to call in and let us give us a topic that we should be discussing, we'll do that too. So tons of ways to interact with everybody, and that's what we want to do because we love talking hockey, and that's basically our lifeline here. So why don't we start off by talking about the World Juniors, and a big congratulations to Team Canada on winning the 2022 IIHF World Junior Championships. Canada beat Finland 3-2 in overtime last night. What a game. What a game. It was. I was pretty much inebriated, so I really didn't get a lot of the action, but I did watch the game, and I thought it was exciting. But Dom, you are our Canadian resident here, and congratulations to your native country, and talk about what that means to you.
Well, it always means a lot to me. I mean, I was interested in the tournament I'm always interested in the tournament, but this year for, the three Bruins prospects that were in the tournament, I paid a little bit more attention to Latvia, Team USA, and Team Sweden that I normally wouldn't have because of Duran, Lockmelis, and Lysell being in the tournament. I will say this about Mason McTavish. Love him as a hockey player. Kid's going to be a stud. Had, a tremendous offensive tournament up there with, Wayne Gretzky and Eric Lindros, tied for the second most points for Team Canada in tournament history. But as great as the play was, he's going to be remembered for that goal line save more than what he contributed offensively. And I mean, it was great. It was fantastic. I mean, we know what Michael Ryder did to the Bruins the Bruins against Montreal. But it's a shame that that's what he's going to be remembered for most, because he really did have a fantastic tournament.
It's funny you said that because I was just thinking Michael Ryder and the freaking glove save. But Kevin, did you happen to watch any of the tournament at all?
I didn't watch a lot of it. I watched a couple of the USA games, a couple of the Sweden games. I unfortunately wasn't able to check out any of Lockmelis's games, but it was interesting. I only was able to hear about the finals last night, the gold medal game. I had plans. I was out doing things, so I wasn't able to watch it. So I'm getting a lot of my information on things here, but I mean, I'm happy for Canada, of course, for being able to pull out that win. And did Lysell end up getting the bronze medal?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. Okay. And he had a big goal in that game.
He had a couple in the tournament.
He had in that game in particular. I mean, I watched that goal while I was out to dinner with friends last night, and I seriously was sitting there for about 15 minutes watching it over and over and over again. They're all looking at me like, "What's so important on your phone?" I just turned my phone around like that. It was
unbelievable wraparound.
It was a great goal, a great show of strength. His hands to be able to get it around the net, wrap it in that way. It was just a beautiful goal, and I'm really excited about that kid.
Yep.
I want to say this about Lysell, if I can.
Absolutely. Floor is yours, sir.
It's not a rant. It's just more being realistic about Fabian Lysell and his chances of making the Bruins this year. Yeah, he had a couple of highlight reel goals that are going to, make the circuit and be hot on Twitter for a few days. The one off the mask that basically had no room in the goal that he scored yesterday, or the two specifically I'm talking about. But I see so many people saying that he has to be in the Bruins opening night lineup based on those two goals. But I challenge those people to go back and watch the last 12 minutes of that game yesterday and count how many shifts Fabian Lysell had in the final 12 minutes. Even when they made it 3-1 and got some breathing room with 3.5 minutes to go, count how many shifts Fabian Lysell had in those final 3.5 minutes. And I can guarantee you won't need any fingers to count them. Now, Kevin mentioned the strength, and granted, he showed a lot of strength on that goal. The skating, we all know the skating is there, but you have to remember, and I always caution about these tournaments. It's one tournament, it's half a dozen games, and these are not NHL players he's doing it against. These are his peers. A lot of them will never play in the NHL. So let's not base too much on what we saw in this tournament. He needs to add strength. As much as he out-muscled the Chechen player, he's not an NHL player. And if you're going to put him in the lineup, that's what he's going to be facing come opening night.
Yep, I agree. I agree with you, Dom. Everything you said. I mean, you need to be able to pump the brakes. Yeah, he's an exciting player, but he still has room for growing. And you need to allow him to do that at the next step, which would be the AHL level. That's going to be just a taste of what he would endure for a full 82-game schedule in the NHL. Now, I've heard Mark say, the AHL, kind of comes at you a bit faster than the NHL does. So I think it's a great way for him to kind of, dip his toes in the water, get started. And I mean, if he ends up making the Bruins at some point this season because he's shown a lot of, growth and he's shown that he can handle that and he comes up through injury and he stays, then that's what happens. No one here can say that can't happen. But to pencil him in, no doubt saying he has to be there, it's just not how things are, and it shouldn't be how it is.
Yeah, I agree. I'm fully on board, and I have been with full AHL season. And if he excels at a rate that we don't see in a mixed bag of ages on the ice in the American Hockey League with Providence, and how he's built into the system with Ryan Mougenel as head coach, nobody knows what could happen, but I just kind of find it funny the fans just prematurely just like throw it right in there after you see a good play, like Dom said. And it was a lot like what happened to Jack Studnicka after his first development camp. People went to the Warrior Ice Arena, saw Jack Studnicka and his skill set on display in training sessions, and they were automatically raving him to be on the lineup that following season. It's just unrealistic expectations to me. I'm always about properly developing. He does need to get some muscle mass, some a little bit more size. And Dom, you said it a couple of weeks ago that he went from 5'10", now he's over 6 feet. So he's a little bit growing and so on, which is good. But now put on that muscle mass, and he's going to need it against heavier talent in the American Hockey League and guys that are really going to weigh down and grind on you. And they're going to go after players like that. So he's got to be able to take it and be more responsive in his puck possession, his puck movement, and his in three zones, while everything comes at you just a little bit faster than the WHL or some of these tournaments that are under 20 years old.
There's a famous quote from a soccer coach back from 2018 that went something like, you only have the ball for 3 minutes in a game. It's what you do the other 87 minutes that makes you a great player. You can take that and it translates to hockey as well. It's what you do when you don't have the puck on your stick that makes you a great player. You can say it about Bobby Orr, you can say it about Wayne Gretzky, all the way down to Fabian Lysell. It's what you do when you don't have the puck that's going to make you a great player. So That's what Lysell has to learn, other than adding strength to his frame. Because, I watched just about every one of his games in the WHL last season. I watched all his games at the World Junior Championships that just ended. He really hasn't had a full off-season of training because of this tournament. So to add that muscle, he lost a few weeks of what he normally would have done in training or what the Bruins wanted him to do in training. He's added a little bit of muscle, but, I'm not going to base it on a couple of highlight reel goals that he scored. It's the whole package for me. And to me, he's just not ready. Now, can he go into camp and make a case for himself? Sure he can. Anybody can. Just, I need to see it.
Absolutely.
And real quick sorry.
Nope. Go right ahead.
Say real quick before we kind of move on from the Lysell thing, even with the puck, there was some instances in that tournament where, games I saw him play in where he would take the puck into high traffic areas in the offensive zone, lose it in the high slot, and it's going the other way. I saw that quite a bit in that tournament with him, and that's another part of his game that he may need to relax a bit on. It reminds me a bit of David Pastrnak and how he loves to kind of turn it over, at the blue line in the or in the high slot, and it's something that frustrates not only me, but I'm sure a ton of other Bruins fans, and I'd like to see Lysell work on that a bit as well. So,
in his defense, though, I will say Sweden offensively was can I say shit show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it seemed like they had, as a team, no clue on what they were supposed to be doing. And that could have negatively affected Lysell as well,
yeah, could be right there.
But and just to wrap up the Lysell talk real quick, you could really put that into his WHL year too, when him and Zach Osterpachuk, I think that's his name, those two players were the driving force of that team. I'm not saying that the other 18 players on that team were absolutely terrible and they didn't have nothing to do, but those were the two guys that really drove that offense, particularly in the latter part of the season, to really get the Vancouver Giants into the postseason by the skin of their teeth. They were pretty much out of it 7-8 weeks before that, and they really grinded it out to get into the postseason. So, and that was due to those two players. So, Lysell can be trusted to do a lot of good things, but as a young player, he still has to learn the other side of the puck when he doesn't have it. So, that's why I really am all for proper development, at least a full year in the AHL. It's just my opinion, but it has worked in the past. All right. You know what works also is spicing up that fan cave. And you do need it. I'm watching every one of you. I'm looking in all your windows and so on. You need more black and gold. Isn't that creepy, Kevin?
It's weird, dude. I'm not going to lie. It's weird.
But what's not creepy is Bruce Sullivan from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. And he's got some fantastic items from the Boston Bruins and New England Patriots, Boston Red Sox, Boston Celtics, all hand-signed and fully authenticated. So listen to this upcoming commercial, and we'll talk about the Bruins on the other side.
Hey, this is Bruce from Boston Sports and Music with our Black and Gold Memorabilia Moment of the Week. This Sunday, please come visit us at the Dedham Holiday Inn from 8:30 to 2:30 at the Cardboard Promotions Card Show. We'll have dozens of Bruins hand-signed jerseys, pucks, and more. While you're there, you can get an autograph from 1980 gold medalist Ken Morrow, or you can buy one of our items. We've got pucks and photos starting at just $39, and Morrow jerseys autographed, JSA authenticated with inscription for just $99. On August 25th, we've got the return of Dave Silk, former Bruin and 1980 Olympic hockey gold medalist. We're accepting send-ins, $29 for a standard item or $39 for a premium. In October, we will be hosting the return of Andy Moog, Stay tuned for more details on Andy Moog. For more information on our dozens of hand-signed Bruins collectibles, visit us at our Facebook page, Boston Sports in Music Memorabilia, or email me directly at bostonsportsinmusic@gmail.com. And be sure to tune in each week, right here, to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Let's go!
All right, Beast fans, we just heard from the amazing Bruce Sullivan from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia, and I just got a Ray Bork hand-signed jersey from Bruce, and I'm donating it to Cadence Crusaders, which is a childhood pediatric cancer initiative, fundraiser, and so on, and they've been doing that for the past couple of years, and they're having an event at Game Time in Amesbury, Massachusetts on September 1st. So I bought it and donated that in the name of Black and Gold Productions. So hopefully that will raise a lot of money, and I buy all my fundraising stuff from Bruce and the hand-signed stuff to give away to local charities. So it means a lot to me to give back to my community, but also the young ones that excuse me, are having a tough time battling one of the worst things in life. So it means a lot to me to give back, and I hopefully everybody else out there can find it in their hearts to do the same. All right, let's go. Let's talk about this because it is making a little bit of news, and I know it might frustrate a lot of people, but can we put the kibosh on this Milan Lucic's return to Boston? I get the nostalgia, I really do, but what part of Bruins Nation doesn't understand that it just can't work cap-wise? It doesn't make sense on the roster, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't get the whole thing, and the recent rumor is that Calgary is interested in moving on from him, and Boston wants to take him. I don't get it.
Can I go ahead and say something first? There's a lot of Bruins fans out there who are frustrated with the team's lack of young players developing and seeing them be able to pull kids from the AHL or juniors or wherever it may be and insert them into their NHL lineup. But a lot of those same fans are screaming to bring in Milan Lucic to just take one of those spots from one of those kids who are probably ready to come up and show what they can do. Can we just stop doing that, please? Like, it's either you want to see kids develop and you want to see them in this roster, or you want to see people past their prime like Milan Lucic coming in and doing what they could do for you, but maybe worse. So that's just all I have to say about that. And no. Do not, no.
Play-wise, could he be beneficial to the lineup? Maybe. But I just can't see how they could possibly make it work financially. It's going to have to be a three-way trade where you involve a team that Calgary retains 50%, then the second team retains 50%, and then they trade him to the Bruins. And that's going to cost you to get a third team in to do that. On top of that, they already have a dilemma on how they're going to clear cap space when everybody's healthy. Just adding even a $2 million Milan Lucic is just going to compound that even more. I just can't see how it's going to be done. And on top of that, Lucic himself just bought himself a huge home in Calgary, and all indications are that he wants to stay there and re-sign there. So I don't know. I just don't see how it could possibly work.
Yeah, I get the whole, the nostalgia thing, like I said before. I mean, he was a good player. In my opinion, in his first 4 years was the better of Milan Lucic. The last 4 years was probably the reason why they moved on from him, not only because he was declining a little bit, but also he was going to be coming in with a heavy payday. And the Bruins probably knew that ahead of time, so they had to make that move to the Los Angeles Kings. But I don't know. I just think that fans just want to see him back in the black and gold and just kick some ass. I think that's it. I mean, he doesn't, for me, he just doesn't provide any offensive structure or anything like that. He's just a banger and so on, and I totally get that. But, we have players like that and that are a little younger, and we'll talk about one of them later on. But, I just don't see the fit. I just think that it's just a lot of fans that love seeing him get all angry and, and one of the funniest things was a lot of it's like, well, you need that player to stick up for your teammates when liberties are taken, and they go back to this and that. And I was reading the thread on Twitter, and it's like, well, where was Lucic when Matt Cook hit Mark Savard? Nobody went after him. It was the next day or the next game that they saw that liberties were served. And, they had to, pay the piper. But that's just a really poor excuse, in my opinion, just to have that guy there to be that support that you need. I don't know. I'm reaching a little bit here. It's just frustrating that so many people want this to happen, but they won't want to give a younger player an opportunity to work his way into the lineup and see what they have. It's basically what we're doing right now with Nick Foligno. We brought in an aging veteran, but also bottlenecking some of these younger prospects from making the lineup. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I get the toughness part of it. I get wanting to add a toughness aspect to your team, but there's other ways of doing it.
Agreed.
Yeah, and bringing him in is not a deterrent. Like you mentioned, Matt Cook. Having Milan Lucic on the bench or in uniform did not deter Matt Cook from doing what he did to Mark Savard. So, I don't buy the whole deterrent thing. Never have and never will. Those types of plays still happen.
Yep, exactly. All right, moving on to another topic. We're talking about cap space, and we need to, shed some of it to be cap compliant before the season starts in October. There's reports out there that Craig Smith could be on his way out. Are we hearing any validity to that? It does make sense if you're looking at his $3.1 million per season. He's got one more year left to go. And the Bruins are 2.2 over. That's the type of guy that doesn't have any contract, no movement, no trade. So it does gravitate a lot of people to say that he would be the one to go. But anybody hearing anything on that at all?
Not a peep.
Nope. Yeah.
Not a peep. I know we've mentioned it on prior podcasts that he would make the most sense because he actually has value around the league, and it's a good contract. It's only got 1 year left, and when you combine all those things, you can get some value for him. But my question is, who do you put in his place? Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people that are listening are going to say Fabian Lysell, but, let's go back to the conversation we had at the beginning. Are you better with Fabian Lysell in that spot to start, or are you better with Craig Smith?
Craig Smith all day, in my opinion. He's going to give you what you need. Work ethic, not saying that Fabian Lysell can't work hard. That's not what I'm saying. But he's going to give you that work ethic at the NHL level. He's going to give you that more complete style of play away from the puck. He's going to give you the things that you're going to want in a playoff series. especially when it comes to, a lot of people look at the stat sheet and say, oh, he's underachieved here in Boston, but I don't really see it that way. I think he's played to the tune of pretty much what his career has been on his stat line. He's had, a 50-point season, I think, once in his career. Other than that, he's been a 30 and 40-point player. He's done exactly what he's done in Nashville. It's just the type of player he is. And I think he's a great bottom six forward to have. When he made that jump up to the top six, a lot of people kind of expected him to become this, brand new sniper top six right winger for this team. And it's just not how it is. So, I like Craig Smith. I think he's a hard worker. I enjoy his game. And if it were up to me, I'd be keeping him for this year if you're going for a cup. And I'd be figuring out a way just to put one of those guys on LTIR and then move one of Riley or Grzelcyk, depending on where you're at when that time is about to come, where a player is coming back. That's just where because of that logjam on the left side of the defense, that's just where I'm at.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I just hope if he stays, I hope he has a bounce back year. I know that it was a tough season last year. Might have been injured a little bit, hindering something, but definitely want to see that shooting. That's why we got one of the big reasons why we got this player is it was his shooting percentage was really high, and as soon as he gets the puck, he's like putting it on net and creating opportunities. I want to see more of that. I like the points too. I mean, when we're looking for secondary scoring all the time, he's a player that I really gravitate to a lot. Is him, and with his shooting abilities and so on, I want to see him more point productive. But hopefully for a bounce back year, I mean, it is a contract year. It does happen in the NHL quite often that, when you're up against it and, at the tail end of your current deal, that you really perform better to get the evaluators out there, their prices go up a little bit. So remains to be seen what type of year he has, but I don't know. Tough one. All right, Dom, you wanted to talk about one of your topics. I know you had 3 of them, so if you want to, you can go right ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I'm being asked a lot, about 2 rookie camp invites that'll be at the Prospects Challenge in Buffalo. First one is James Hardy, with the Mississauga Steelheads out of the Ontario Hockey League. Here's a guy who's been an elite scorer at the junior level since basically coming into the league. He's gone undrafted 3 times now. And people are wondering, like, what's the deal? Why is he gone undrafted? Is it a skating issue? Is it a hockey sense issue? And the answer is no. The thing with Hardy is that as elite of a goal scorer he is, excellent vision, he can shoot the puck like an NHL player right now. For a few years, he didn't know that hockey was a 200-foot game, and I think that that affected him. But he made strides last season, and you could see that he's put the work in it that needed to be, and whether it's enough, that remains to be seen. So, I'm excited to see what he can do at the Prospects Challenge and go from there. The other one, and I'm going to butcher his name, and Mark, you're going to have to help me with this because you probably know it better than I do because he played with Maine Mariners last season. Is Kelty? Oh.
Kelty Leon.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Here's
Google
a guy
it, Mark.
who-
Google it.
Google it. He's a guy who played in the WHL, bounced around for the first few years, and finally ended up in Seattle where he really took off. And the same thing could be said about Kelty that I said about James Hardy is that, the development came later. His 200-foot awareness was lacking. But he's a point producer, a late developer. So I'm curious how the two will do at the Prospects Challenge. I believe Kelty signed an ECHL deal, Mark?
Yeah, he's been with the Maine Mariners.
But the one he just signed is an ECHL deal, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, maybe he can show enough to get himself an AHL deal coming out of the Prospect Challenge and rookie camp and go from there. So I just wanted to touch base on those two guys because people are asking me about them, and what better place to put it out than here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about the first one, but I am going to start paying attention, obviously, at the Prospects Challenge in Buffalo on Harding. And Kelty Leon, I saw many times in Maine, really fast forward and a point producer. And what a fantastic year last season. The first with the Bruins AA minor pro affiliate. And got a little bit of a taste of American Hockey League life too, with a few call-ups and so on. But yeah, I think that's a solid move to have at the Young Prospects Challenge with fellow Bruins, first-timers and prospects that have been around for a couple of years. So should be exciting. That tournament is in the middle of September. Unfortunately, I'm not going to make it again this year. I was really hoping to, but Dad's going away to Florida, so I got to watch the dogs. So, yeah, looking forward to that and those two players. Did you have anything else on that, Dom?
No, just wanted to touch on them because I was being asked a lot about them. So,
no problem. Hopefully, we answered those questions. Kevin, you got anything besides stuffing your face with this sandwich, and you got something? You're saving that for later?
Got nothing, Mark.
All right. You cracked me up when Don was talking. He's like, you got that, weird face, and he's just putting the sandwich in his mouth.
Well, I couldn't figure out why you were smiling, and then I looked over and there's Kevin with his food.
That's exact. I waited for it. I've had that sitting there for a while. I waited for Dom to have to talk about something that he really wanted to talk about.
Well, I hope it's stale.
No, it's fresh.
All right. Speaking of fresh, nice segues, by the way, today, guys. Steve Conroy of the Boston Herald wrote a tremendous article recently. I think it was either yesterday or it came out this morning. He sat down with new head coach of the Boston Bruins, Jim Montgomery, and it was a fantastic read. Steve's a great guy. I've met him several times. We always say hello to each other at the Warrior when we do happen to see each other. And really got a real sense of how Jim's going to construct or look at the upcoming roster as he becomes the new Bruins head coach. And I'm not going to talk about the complete article, but I did want to just take away a couple of things that I noticed in there. Montgomery, he says he's excited for a few players who might be ready to turn a corner. Without being on the ice yet, it's hard to tell, but through conversations about how they are thinking mentally, I think Jake DeBrusk is a player that the Bruins need, and he wants to go from being an everyday consistent player to an everyday impactful player, said Montgomery. I see players like Trent Frederick becoming more every night impactful player, understanding his role. The eagerness in their voices to become more. I've heard that from guys like Mike Riley and Derek Forbert as well. Brandon Carlo jumps off that page. My conversations with Jeremy Swayman have been incredibly positive in my sense or how eager they are to get better as professionals. Montgomery plans to have tweaks to the defensive system, but Montgomery will stick to the zone system that has been a Bruins mainstay for a decade and a half. That's a little concerning to me, but anyway. Montgomery also in the article from Steve Conroy, and I'll put this article in the show notes as well, so our listeners and YouTube viewers can read Steve's fantastic work. But Montgomery also broke down the responsibilities of his staff. New assistant John Gruden will handle the defense and power play. Joe Sacco will handle the penalty kill and forward development, while also serving as a sounding board for the Bruins defensive system. The zone system, I know how it works, but he's lived it for decades. So he's someone I'm going to lean on heavily there, said Montgomery. Chris Kelly will focus on face-offs, forward puck protection, and handle the pre-scouts. He plans to keep all three assistants on the bench and have goalie Bob as the eye in the sky. So first takeaways from that, obviously, is the high praise that he's given Jake DeBrusk on the upcoming year under a new voice and hopefully, a new goal for Jake. I think that Jake had a coming out year after giving a trade request and then rescinding it later on, but his second half was so much better. So I expect him to have a big year. And what he said about Trent Frederick, I think is positive as well. And if we can get more out of Trent, and I know the skill sets there. I saw it in the U.S. development program. I've seen it at Wisconsin and Providence. I really want it to get it going at the NHL level. So there's some pretty cool things that he was saying about that. But one thing, like I said, is the zone system. I think that's going to change somewhat soon, but it is what it is. What are your thoughts on what Montgomery said?
I want to push back just a little bit on his comments about DeBrusk, and it's not because I don't think he can be an impactful player. It's his wording. He said DeBrusk wants to go from an everyday consistent player to an everyday impactful player. I need to see him get to that everyday consistent player first, because I don't think he is an everyday consistent player. Throughout his career so far, he has taken a half a season off, and he has just absolutely gone on fire in that second half of the season. That's what I've seen from Jake DeBrusk, other than that COVID season, but I write that off completely. I don't even count that. That's nothing to me. So I want to see him put in a full effort for an entire season. If he can be an impactful player that entire time, great. But I just want to see the work ethic. I want to see him, consistently being a good player on both sides of the puck all year long. That's what I want to see out of DeBrusk.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Kevin there, but for the most part, I think once he got moved to the top line with Bergeron and Marchand, we did see a consistent DeBrusk. And
yes,
let's face it, if you're going to play with those two, you better be busting your ass off, because they will not put up with anything less. And I know we're going to talk about our lineups in a bit, but I said it on the last podcast or two podcasts ago. With the injury to Marchand to start the season, I'm not moving Jake DeBrusk from the right side. If he's going to be the right wing on that line, leave him there. Don't start moving him around, because we all know that if you start to mess with Jake's head, you're not going to get consistent Jake.
True. No, that is so true.
I do agree with you on the fact that once he got moved to that line playing with those players last season, we did see a very consistent everyday player in DeBrusk. Now I want to see that for 82 games, and I hope we do get to see it.
But like I said, Kevin, when you're playing with Bergie and Marshy, if you're anything but consistent, you're going to know about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no passengers on that line.
No.
Yep. But all in all, I love what I'm hearing, out of new head coach Jim Montgomery. I think he's really going to be able to put these players in a spot to succeed. And I'm really excited to see how he does it and how it pans out. Really excited.
Now, the other thing, too, is the zone defense. I was worried that they were going to go to man. So we're going to be in disagreement here a little bit, Mark, because I don't think they have the horses to play man-to-man coverage, both on defense and up front. Derek Forbert is not the type of skater to be a man-on-man defensive player. Matt Grzelcyk, while he has the skating, doesn't have the strength. Brandon Carlo, the skating's there.
I'd say the positioning's there as well.
Yeah. I have to see him become Brandon Carlo of old before I'm confident enough in him being a man-on-man coverage because, last season he did make some boneheaded decisions. And when you're playing a man-on-man coverage, you can't afford that. So I'm kind of glad to hear that they're going to stick to his own defense. And the players know the system.
Yeah.
The coaching staff know the system. The goaltenders know the system. It's just Jim Montgomery and John Gruden are the only ones that don't.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're putting in all the effort to learn it.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, Dom, and I totally agree with you too, my friend. And where I want to see change more or less is like if you're going to be a zone and not man-to-man, you have to have better gap control. You have to just have a little more intelligence on the back end and read the plays a little bit better and just, there's so many times in so many years, I've seen this so many times that, everybody seems like they're going for the puck where they're leaving the guy wide open up front. It's just don't stop doing that and it'll be a lot better and you won't have to go man-to-man.
I think Gruden is really going to help in that, though. I really do.
Yeah, I believe so. And you look at both of these coaches on the bench that are coming up in their first years as Bruins coaches. I think that the message is just going to be that more clearer to the players. I'm not saying that them two being here is going to equal a Stanley Cup. What I'm saying is it's positive things moving forward. You're getting fresh voices. Players are now going to be more apt to do these things and not hear a stale message anymore. I think it's all going to be good, and it's going to take time. I mean, Like I said, nothing is going to come easily this season, especially in October, November, and December, where some of these players that you really heavily rely on, whether they be a forward like Marchand, whether they be a defenseman like McAvoy, out of the lineup are going to be challenges for a first coach and his assistant to really buckle down and try to get into their heads to say, we need that next man up mentality. We got to move with that, and just be competitive until these guys get back. And then we can start in December really putting the things together to really chase and lock down, a wild card spot or a sixth spot in the freaking conference. So those are kind of my expectations, but I'm looking forward to these two on the bench and how they can translate that message and really get the best out of every player. All right. Why don't we hear from show sponsor betonline.ag, and we will talk on the other side. We have a couple more topics we're going to go through. So the hockey talk, the Boston Bruins hockey talk keeps going here. So let's hear from BetOnline, and we'll be back. BetOnline.ag is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline.ag continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to the BetOnline.ag website today or use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code CLNS50. That's CLNS50 to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline.ag, it's where the game starts. All right, Beast fans, we are back. We just heard from show sponsor BetOnline.ag. Please use that code CLNS50. It does us a great deal of service, and we truly appreciate everybody that does that. And we also want to mention we would like to see you all bet safely. Do not do anything crazy where you lose your whole paycheck, but do it in moderation. Let's put it that way. We are back, and Kevin a couple weeks ago brought up the idea of doing a little Boston Bruins 2022-23 lineup, and our preferred lineup. So we all three of us did our lineup. So Kevin, why don't you go ahead and talk about how this all came about?
Well, we were just talking about how we would like to see the lineups constructed, and there's a lot of different ways you could do it. So I feel like there's a lot to talk about. I'd like Dom to start here because I feel like him and I agree on our preferred lineup. Mark may as well, but I would like that lineup to be kind of out of the way. So, Dom, if you want to give your lineup.
Well, I'm going to start with line 1B. That's David Krejci in the middle, Taylor Hall on the left, and David Pastrnak on the right. Line 1A, of course, is Patrice Bergeron in the middle, Jake DeBrusk on the right. I've given my opinion about not moving him, and Pavel Zacha to start there once Marchand returns. Line 3 will have Charlie Coyle in the middle, Craig Smith on the right, and Trent Frederick on the left until Marchand returns. Then Zacha will move into that 3 left wing spot. Line 4, okay, here's where we're probably going to disagree. I put A.J. Greer on left wing, Nosek in the middle, and Oscar Steen on the right, with Jack Studnicka and Nick Foligno being your extra forwards. When Marchand returns, Greer goes down to Providence. I just don't see the Bruins waiving Nick Foligno and sending him down. I just can't see them doing it to him. I could see a scenario where Studnicka could outperform Nosek in camp and get the 4C spot, but you eventually want a line of Frederick, Studnicka, and Steen as your fourth line. I don't know. But let's stick with the forward groups for now. We'll do the defensive pairs afterwards.
Okay. So yeah, we do agree in a lot of areas. The only differences I have is on my fourth line to start, I have Foligno, Studnicka, and Steen. So there's my difference for the fourth line. And my only other difference is I know you said Hall, Krejci, and Pastrnak were your 1B. They are my 1A to start the season.
To start the season, yeah. Yeah, they're the 1A.
And depending on how they do, depending on how well they do and how Marchand is when it comes to coming off his double hip surgery and this and that, and how Bergeron and DeBrusk are doing together, it could stay the same even when all is healthy. That's just the only difference.
And we had that discussion before. I actually put it on Twitter, and several hundred people voted, and 65% said the Bergie line is the number one line. Well, how do you determine what line is the first line and what line is the second line? If you go by points alone, I think the Krejci line can outproduce the Bergeron line.
Agreed.
Mark, what's yours?
All right, so I did mine a little weird, but hopefully you guys can follow. This is my healthy lineup. Bergeron centering, DeBrusk on the right, Marchand on the left, obviously. Krejci centering, Pasternak on the right, Hall on the left. Coyle centering, Smith and Zacha. Smith on the right, Zacha on the left. Nosek centering, Steen on the right, and Frederick on the left. That's my healthy. It's the start of the season lineup. I did a little extracurricular. I have Bergeron centering DeBrusk on the right and Hall / Zacha, because both of them could possibly fit in there under a Montgomery system. Krejci centering Pasternak and Zacha if that, because everything's going to move up with Marchand not around. The third line, Coyle centering Jack Studnicka and Trent Frederick on the left. And my fourth line, Nosek, with Steen on the right and a / Vinny Lettieri. Kind of weird. And on the left, I do have Foligno and / Una Kopanen. Maybe.
So where's Smith in your lineup to start?
In the start of the season?
Is he traded?
Traded.
Okay.
That's the only way I honestly see Jack getting in the lineup full time and not being that rotationary forward, like you mentioned on your lineup to 13 and 14 forward. So I don't know. It was kind of an interesting thing to sit down most of the day yesterday and go through these lineups, but it was fun.
Okay, interesting. I did put together one other lineup to start the season because I knew that we were going to agree on mostly everything when it came to, the preferred lineup. But I wanted to throw another lineup at you guys that incorporates that duo aspect that, we come to love. And that lineup would be your first line being Zacha, Bergeron, Pasternak. Your second line being Hall, Krejci, DeBrusk. Your third line, Frederick, Coyle, Smith. And then the fourth line, Foligno, Studnicka, Steen.
Nice. I like it.
I don't like that one.
I knew Dom wouldn't because it takes DeBrusk away from Bergeron in his spot where he wants him to be.
Yeah, I just honestly, I do not mess with the kid's head. We've seen what happens with DeBrusk when things are not where they should be with him, and you lose him for a season.
The way I validated it in my mind is you're keeping DeBrusk on the right side, you're pairing him with Krejci, who he has had success with, and you're giving him Taylor Hall, who has a very speedy type of game similar to DeBrusk that could mesh well.
Okay, but here's the thing. The reason why DeBrusk works with Bergeron and Marchand, and I touched briefly about it on the last podcast, is with Bergeron and Marchand, you don't have the offensive zone becomes wide open. You don't have a left wing, a right wing, and a center. They move around that much. With Taylor Hall, he's an up and down winger. He basically stays to his side and does his left wing job. Granted, DeBrusk has chemistry with Krejci, or has had it in the past, but has he ever had it on the right side with David Krejci?
So I agree with everything you just said, but my only pushback is going to be DeBrusk isn't going to be on a line with Bergeron and Marchand to start the season. He'd have Zacha there on that left side. Now, who knows how Zacha is going to play that left side? Is he going to play it up and down, or is he going to play it all over the place?
Zacha is a north, south, east, west player. He's not going to be a north, south like Taylor Hall is.
So he's going to be more of like a Marchand type positioning guy when it comes to how he's playing the left. Okay. So, okay.
All right.
But I'm glad that we all agree on our number one preferred. I just wanted to throw this one out there as another option that maybe they could look at if, say, the preferred lineup wasn't working out.
Yeah.
True. All right, so defense.
Yep.
All right, so I'll go first. My healthy defense is obviously Lindholm and McAvoy, my top pairing. Second pairing is going to be Grzelcyk and Carlo. The third pairing on the healthy lineup, I have either Zaboral or Forbert on the left and Zaboral or Clifton on the right. And I'm probably missing somebody. But that's my healthy defense.
I'm going to agree with that.
To start the season, I have Lindholm Zaboral, which is intriguing to me. I have a Grzelcyk and I have a Forbert and Carlo. And if Riley's not ready to start the year, I know he probably will be. But I have Sean and Connor Clifton, third pairing. And again, I'm probably missing somebody.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
I know.
Yep. And that's why it makes too much sense to me that whoever goes to make the cap space has got to be someone from the defense.
Yeah.
There's just too many of them. There's too many NHL defensemen.
And the only reason why I put a Sean in there is for the fact is that if Riley can't go at the beginning of the year, that's a pretty decent option right there. And you can fit him into some kind of power play or penalty kill, whatever.
Do you want to go next, Dom, or do you want me to?
Yeah, well, no, you go ahead, bud.
Okay, so I'll start with my unhealthy first, which would be Lindholm, Zaboral, Riley, Carlo, Forbert, Clifton. And then my healthy defense is Lindholm, McAvoy, Zaboral, Carlo, Forbert, Clifton. And I have both, maybe not both, but I have Grzelcyk traded.
Okay.
I have Grzelcyk traded. And that's because in my mind, I think Zaboral is going to take a huge step forward and prove he is a top four defenseman.
I feel you.
I'm going to agree with your unhealthy.
That becomes a sandwich?
No, don't forget, I mentioned Zaboral starting on the top pair on the right weeks ago on this show. So
you did.
I have no argument with that. What I can't for the life of me figure out what to do with this defense when healthy. I agree with Lindholm, McAvoy as your top pair.
Obviously.
I agree with Carlo on the right side. On the second pair, I can see Zaboral on the left side, but I can also see Mike Riley on the left side. Mm-hmm. And then Forbert and
Zaboral.
Either Zaboral, if he's not on the second pair with Carlo, or Clifton.
Mm-hmm. So do you have Grzelcyk traded as well?
I don't see any other option. I really don't.
Me neither. I think he fetches you the highest return as well. Once he comes back healthy, I think you can get a second. We talked about this. I think you can get a second pick for him, second round pick.
Yeah, even if you retain $1 million or $750,000 on that contract, you can get a good return for him. I think for teams to be interested in them that lack the cap space, you're going to have to retain a little bit on his salary, and I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully his injury history doesn't, do much to any of that trade value. It's unfortunate that Matty's been just really the bad luck with the recent injuries, shoulder, lower body, and so on. But he's a warrior. He's a good old Boston kid and so on. But when you're a business and you're a sports franchise that needs to trim cap space and create roster spots, I mean, it logically it does make sense to move him. A lot of the times I don't want to move, particularly this off season, is I don't want to move anything on the defense quite yet because I don't. Although the eye test showed that the defense wasn't great last year. But if you look at the underlying numbers, they were ranked as one of the higher teams defensively, and that includes goaltending as well. So, I would trim the fat on the forward. I'd still see Smith being moved, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just going LTIR on either McAvoy or Marchand or both, however they want to do it. And, because Grzelcyk is going to be ready to go and back before those two. So at that point, that's where you make your decision on where you want to trim your fat. And I just think it's got to be from the defense. There's just too many. I mean, because when you think about it, when all is healthy, you're going to have, let's say all is healthy, and let's say they don't trade a single player off of that defense. You're looking at Lindholm, McAvoy, Grzelcyk, Carlo, and then Forbort and who? We've already seen that Forbort and Riley doesn't work, with Riley on the right side. That didn't really stand out to me as an option. And then, so he's sitting automatically. And then you have Zaboral and Clifton now fighting for that bottom pairing slot. I mean, I guess it would be good to have that type of depth on defense. But then again, the forward group last season for me, for a lot of parts of the season, was the area where they were lacking a lot of depth. And I think Craig Smith adds a ton of depth. And I don't know if I want to see him taken off the roster.
Okay,
So
let me throw
it's tough.
Let me throw this one at you guys. Because when healthy, they've got 8 NHL defensemen. And we know the Bruins like to carry 8 defensemen because injuries are going to happen. But if Jack Ashawn can prove to be the 8th defenseman, I know it's not a lot of money. He's a UFA at the end of the season. But, in this business, every little penny counts. And if you can, obviously they're going to waive Wagner. If Studnicka makes a case, you can waive Nosek. How about trading Connor Clifton and his $1 million salary, and you're now cap compliant, and you have Lindholm, McAvoy, Grzelcyk, Carlo, and either Riley and Forbort with Zaboral on the right.
That is intriguing in itself.
Because let's not forget, Zaboral was good enough to take Clifton out of the lineup at different points over the last 2 years.
Yep.
Just got to make sure Zaboral can stay healthy.
That's
much like
key.
Matty Grzelcyk.
Yep.
So that's where it's tough too. That's why I wouldn't mind them seeing them move on from a guy like Grzelcyk. Not because I think he's a bad player. I think he's a good number 4, number 5 guy to have on your team. But it's the health for me. What is it going to look like? You maybe could say the same about Lindholm, maybe not to the same extent. But, I mean, he's such a good player that you wouldn't even think about touching him.
No.
It's just, it's tough. I mean, Carlo, he's had his issues. So there's a lot of reasons to keep a good amount of defensemen around in case of situations that may arise. But you can almost say the same thing about, the offense. It's tough. But I like your idea of Clifton. I do. Because it makes sense, but I want to see Zaboral stay healthy first before I even think of moving on from Clifton, who can be a quality bottom pairing guy on your right side for you.
Yeah, I'm tired of them overpaying for, your fourth liners or your bottom pair defensemen. And let's face it, Clifton deserves a raise. But how much are you willing to give him? And it's like
nothing over 2.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but is that enough is that too much when you're carrying Forbort and Riley at $3 million apiece? Like
definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an option.
Absolutely. I like the idea though of how to create cap space, Dom, by what you just said. And if you could write down your pairings and send that in a Twitter DM. I'd like to really investigate a little bit further into that. I like the idea of Rashawn and being in place, and Clifton being one of the departures just to get that cap space to work. I like that idea.
I think Jack Ashan could easily prove that he can play at the NHL level this season. I mean, he already kind of did. He already showed a lot. Having a summer to continue to grow and then a full training camp and preseason, I think he can be a quality player for this team, whether that's as a 7th or 8th defenseman or that's being in the lineup. So there's a lot to like about where this team is heading. It's just how are they going to piece it together, and I'm just excited to see how it happens.
Exactly. Since we're talking about the lineup, we might as well just bring this topic that we were going to discuss, but it's the great goaltending debate. And why don't we just talk about Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman as your tandem for the upcoming season. One thing that is a lot of Bruins fans, and I know it's a shiny new toy theory and so on, and yes, Jeremy Swayman did show some promise in his first full year in the National Hockey League, but I still don't want to. And it's not that I don't trust him, and it's not that I don't think he's good enough and so on, but I don't think that at this particular time in his age and the way he's continues to develop, that he should be the guy that's going to give you 70, 75 games a season. A lot of Bruins fans are really are up on this, saying that he should be the legit 1A, and I kick back all the time. I think that what happened last season, the Boston Bruins having the 1A and 1B proved tremendously in their year. Goaltending was not the problem. 41-41 for this upcoming season, I could see them both doing that same thing again, and hopefully Jim Montgomery understands that as well, that I just think that the way they both work together, and obviously it's going to come down to who had the better season and who's ready for the playoffs, but during the regular season, I'd like to see him split again because I think it really worked to everybody's benefit.
I think Montgomery is going to, much like Bruce Cassidy did, is going to leave the bulk of the decision-making to Bob Essenza. They have a goaltending coach for a reason. It's not always the head coach that makes the head coach has the final say, but, Jim Montgomery or Bruce Cassidy were not goaltenders. Bob Essenza is the goaltender. He's the one who reads who's going and who's not going. And it's not just based on the last game. It's based on practice, their work ethic in practice, everything. Now, you mentioned 70, 75 games. I don't think 60 games is possible with Swayman, let alone 70 or 75. I have yet to see anything that says he's capable of 50 games. So every single NHL team, with the exception of Las Vegas, because they don't have any goalies right now, is trending towards having pretty much an even split between your two goaltenders. The days of Glenn Hall playing 566 consecutive games or whatever it was is long gone. We're not going to see that ever again.
Yep. Yeah, the league's definitely trending into 1A, 1B, and obviously trying to keep a cap friendly. I mean, the Boston Bruins right now are coming into next season with their goaltending at under $6 million.
Right.
And that's fantastic.
I see all people that want to move Ullmark. I just don't comment on it because I don't want to get into Twitter arguments. But who's your backup? Or who's your 1B if you move Ullmark?
Yeah, Kincaid.
Yeah, that's what they're excited about. But, no, when you talk about the whole 70, 75 game thing, if there's Bruins fans out there who truly think that, then they must think that Jeremy Swayman is as good or better than the likes of Vasilevsky, Hellebuyck, Shesterkin, these guys. He's not near there. He's not. And it's crazy to me that someone would say Jeremy Swayman should get, even like Dom said, 60 games. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. He's not there yet. He has stuff to work on still. He's still a young goaltender. If you had to ask me today who my starting goaltender would be for opening night, I don't have anything to go on other than the last things that I saw in that Carolina series. And I guess it would be Swayman just based off of that series, but it's not because Ullmark played bad. It's just I saw him as the goaltender who let it out. Yeah. So game one would go to Swayman for me right now, but I need to see preseason. I need to see the camp. I need to see how that all goes before I make a determination on who's the night one starter.
I look at it like this. Tuukka Rask was one of the best goalies in Boston Bruins history. Mm-hmm. What is the most number of games he started in a season?
Oh, we taking a guess here? I'm going to say 62.
I honestly don't know the answer. I don't have it in front of me.
I don't either. I know he did have a really high number, but then as he aged into his career, those numbers went down.
I'm going to look it up.
As you're looking it up, I do want to remind folks that Andrew Raycroft on the Morning Brew Hockey Podcast brought up a very valid point, and it was so spot on, and I continue to say this. But if Tuukka Rask was healthy, he probably could have gotten one road win in that series.
I got the answer for you.
What is it? Is it 62?
It is.
70. He had 71 season, and that's when what's-his-face was back up.
That was games played, not started. Games started, 67.
Oof. Still a lot. That's a hell of a year. But by that time, you're pretty much worn out for the playoffs. That's why later on in the year.
I'm saying, like, the Bruins didn't have a backup when Rask started 67 games.
Right. No, who did they have? They had Khudobin. They had Hannu Toivonen.
No, at that time was the Swede, was it not?
Svedberg?
Fedback?
Yeah. Svedberg.
Yeah. Svedberg, that's it.
Yeah. So, there's your answer. Like, who's your 1B, guys? Kyle Kaiser, Keith Kincaid, Brandon Busey,
Callum Booth,
Francois Brassard.
Yeah, I don't think Callum Booth is coming back with Brassard signed.
Reed Dick.
Jesus. All right, this is getting off the rails. Let's bring it back in here.
He'd stand tall in that. Tell you that.
Yeah. Be hard to get the puck past.
Bruins goaltending would go from 6 to midnight real quick.
All right. Speaking of 6 to midnight, and
wait, one more. hard goalie to beat.
Gross. Continue.
All right. One thing that can't be beat is how crazy this Boston Bruins fan nation can be at times, and especially when media puts something out there, things get taken way out of context in many ways. But per a Czech media outlet, David Pastrnak said something, and I don't have it in front of me because my computer's slow, but so if anybody could help me out, I would truly appreciate that.
I'll try.
Well, the screen behind me says it all.
I'm Googling it, Dom.
Now, you know that I'm a big fan of using Google, especially with the number of questions I get asked where the simple answer is, just Google it. The information is on your fingertips. What I am not a fan of is Google Translate, where it took his words and the translation came up with the word regret when the actual meaning was sad that the Bruins haven't won while he's been there, haven't won a cup. He doesn't regret it. He was sad about it. And that's the problem with using Google Translate is you don't always get a true translation.
I have the actual rough translation quote.
Okay, read it.
Do it in Czech.
Now I'm going into my 9th season, and I haven't won anything yet. Time flies, and I regret it every year. That is the rough translation.
Right. Now take out that word, regret.
And replace it with sad, no problem. Time flies, and I sad it every year.
So, I don't know. I mean, this happens all the time, especially in the offseason when players are... I mean, this happened in the previous David Pastrnak contract that went right up to training camp. Him and McAvoy were pretty much holding out, and then bam, it made it happen. So, and even back then, something was said in the Czech media about him not signing and so on. So, I mean, I just think that a lot of people took this out of context, and you know, it happens. But you know, I don't see anything happening to David. I think that there's going to be a deal that's going to be done. I don't think that Pastrnak hanging out with David Krejci during the World Championships and practically, you know, hanging on to his ankle, saying "come back to Boston" as Krejci's dragging him down the street. All that effort and you know, and all these Instagram videos and pictures and so on are all for nothing. I think that David's going to be here. I think he's going to sign a decent deal. I'm moving my number. I'd love to see him at $8 million, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be north of 9.5. So hopefully, you know, something gets done because he is a goal scorer. He is our weapon, and you know, we need him around for that point production because he's pretty much the only 40 goal scorer we have on this club.
Well, the thing out of the Steve Conroy article that we touched on earlier was Montgomery said that he spoke with Pastrnak. You know, I suggest everybody go read it because I don't want to give all the information out here. Go read it. It's a really, really good piece written by Steve. But, you know, when Montgomery was asked whether Pastrnak will play with Krejci, and Pasternak's response was like what you expect from David Pastrnak. Now I have two good centers to play with. Right?
Exactly.
That's not a guy that sounds like he's regretting being here. That sounds like a guy who's happy and excited for the upcoming season. You know, he's just sad that they haven't won a championship yet.
Yep.
Even if the rough translation that was seen there for me to read is exactly what was said, even if that's what was said, I'm still not worried. He's a hockey player who wants to win a Stanley Cup. Every single player in this league wants to win a Stanley Cup. He didn't say, the rough translation didn't say, time flies and I regret being a Bruin every single year that goes by. That is just, I regret maybe not, you know, putting myself to that next level to be able to win that cup. You know, being able to put it on my back. You know,
the only issue I have with that, Kevin, is you're using the Google Translate, which is not the right translation.
I know. I'm saying if that was the exact translation, I'm still not worried.
People from Czechia have translated it. It's all over Twitter. It's all over the internet. The actual meaning of what he said is that he is sad they haven't won anything yet.
Yeah, and that's all fine. I was just saying even if that was the actual translation. that the comment just doesn't read to me, I don't want to be a Boston Bruin. It just doesn't.
But you know, there's a lot of negativity with a small percentage of the fan base in Boston.
Grow larger by the day.
Yeah, and they will take anything like that and run with it. And whether it's the right information or not, and they're going to keep feeding that information out there.
Yep. Exactly. I don't worry about it either. I think there's going to be a deal done and everybody will be happy. Happy.
So do I.
So I heard you. Go ahead.
No, I even broke down what I think the contract's going to look like. So
yeah. Now I heard you say, Mark, you'd like to see him at $8 million, but you believe it's going to be north of 9, around 9.5, as Dom does. I could totally see it being that too, but I think if it goes anything above that 9.5 mark into that, even the upper 9s into that 10 area, you don't do it. I like Pastrnak. I do. I really like Pastrnak. I like his game, but I'm not paying him more than McAvoy. I don't even want to pay him the same amount. I think he's got to be able to make either a little bit less or right around that 9.5 where you walk away. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Kevin. The Bruins have always had, I don't want to call it an internal cap because they always spend to the cap, but they have a salary structure that they want to use. It goes all the way back to Harry Sinden and Ray Bourque. Ray Bourque was always going to be the highest paid player on the Boston Bruins, no matter what. You had Big Z and you had Patrice Bergeron and you had David Krejci. Now, Krejci made more than Patrice Bergeron for a while, but the way the salary was structured was a little because of bonuses and lost seasons was a little bit more beneficial to Bergeron. But I think Charlie McAvoy is the guy this time. It's like, look, here's our salary structure. Nobody's going to make more than Charlie McAvoy.
Yep.
And the Bruins have always operated like that in the cap world.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Where do we go from here? Because I have everything checked off that was on our agenda, or on my agenda at least.
Well, we could sing happy birthday to Frederic Brunet, but
Nah.
I'll take a clip of the old Drunken Sailor thing that we did a couple weeks ago, and I'll put it on the end of this.
No, you don't have to.
No, I know. I'm kidding. But anyway, happy birthday to the Bruins prospect.
Dom, are you feeling lucky?
Am I feeling lucky?
Yeah.
Not today, but go ahead. Make my day.
Well, I'm just reading your background.
Yeah.
Reading my background.
Yeah, right beside you. It says I'm feeling lucky.
It does?
Yeah, it does. Right under
Sure
Google.
does.
Oh, Google. Google's saying that, not me.
So, what other Bruins news do you think is going to trickle out over the next week? Do you think we're going to see anything, Dom?
I don't think we're going to see anything happen in terms of roster movement till the season starts. I think we're going to see a couple more invites to the Prospects Challenge. They're going to need to. They need to fill out a roster. I'm curious to see who they bring in, and we'll probably be able to do a whole show just on them because I think we're going to have a handful of invites.
Yeah.
But there's not much. I mean, their front office staff is all in place now. Their scouting staff is all in place. Their players are all in place. they actually have to move some out. So I think they're in a good position, and decisions are still going to be over a month away on. In fact, it would be over 2 months away.
Yeah.
One thing that, maybe in a future episode, Mark, is talk about the Providence Bruins, because you talk about too many bodies in Boston.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bodies in Providence, and how they're going to deal with that.
And I always kind of pump up the Providence Bruins roster. Like last season, I was like, it's going to be exciting and so on. And it kind of sucked on how it ended because of the injuries and so on. But when you look at the roster on paper as of right now, just an off-season look, I'm excited. I'm excited again because you're going to see the Georgi McCulloughs. Samuel Asselin is coming back, and Brandon Bussi could possibly, challenge Kyle Kaiser to be that backup, or is he off to, Maine? There's a lot of interesting things that are going on. How Vinny Lettieri is going to fit in as a veteran in the American Hockey League and so on. And I think Ryan Mougenel in his upcoming year, which was his second straight year as the Bruins head coach, is got something really good to work with right now. But you're right, there's a lot of players that are still fighting for jobs at that particular level that are going to either stick in American Hockey League Providence Bruins training camp, or they're going to be filtered down to Maine, which is not a bad thing either. But, it's for continued evaluation. It's good to have these players involved in the minor pro system. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to spending a lot more time down in Providence. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting more player and coach interactions and not these ridiculous Zoom meetings and so on. I really want to get back to interviewing, player, coach and coach and so on, getting in the scrums again. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm ready for Providence, and yeah, I think that's a great idea. We should look at an idea of what we could get in the Providence Bruins lineup, and that might be an article that I take on this week if I have time. I might even write one up, and then we'll talk about it next week if that's something you want to do, or maybe the week after, whatever.
Tom,
yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
You talked about camp invites. Do you think any of those camp invites will be Brian Gionta, Lee Stempniak, or Miroslav Satan?
And why is your answer no?
No. I was referring to rookie camp, but it's funny that you mentioned that. I still can't for the life of me figure out why they signed J.D. Greenway to a PTO when he was already under AHL contract.
Yeah, Mark's theory.
I have no idea. This one blew me away. I was like, why are you doing that? You already have the guy in the system. Why?
And under contract.
And under contract.
Yeah,
I mean, bringing him to training camp shouldn't have been via that particular avenue. You could have just had him there. Why bring him in on a PTO?
Yeah.
But here's another theory too. Is I don't know if many people knew this, but if you went to development camp, he was traditionally working out all week, a lot of the week, as a forward.
Yeah, but that should have nothing to do with his contract situation. If for him to sign a PTO, he would have to agree to get out of his AHL contract. It's the only way you can sign a PTO with an NHL team. My understanding was this was a Boston Bruin PTO, not a Providence Bruin PTO. Okay? So I don't know if this was just a way for the Bruins to get out of the contract. Like I just don't understand it. Because like you said, they could have just brought him up for camp. There's no need to sign a PTO. So I don't know. I'm dumbfounded by that.
Dom.
But no, hold on. To go back to your question, though, Kevin, is since we're all nostalgic with the Milan Lucic stuff, how about signing Phil Kessel to a PTO?
Ooh.
I'd do it. That'd be fun. But do you think maybe the JD Greenway getting out of his contract is a way to open up some space to maybe bring back Louis Eriksson?
Jesus. You're terrible. I liked you when you were stuffing sandwiches in your face.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
What do you think, Dom?
When I want Kevin to shut up, I think of Reed Dick.
Oh, Jesus. Here we go.
I don't have anything witty to come back with.
Oh, wow. That's
Louis Eriksson retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, for now.
All right.
No, but I would bring Phil Kessel in on a PTO.
How many hot dogs do you think it would take?
Oh, Jesus.
33.
33.
Yeah.
That's quite the number. Now, are they already dressed with relish and other condiments, or are they bare for him to do what he wishes with?
They're bare for him to do what he wishes with them.
Do you think he would share any with Reed Dick?
No.
Okay. This is going off the rails.
Yeah, it is. Because the agenda's almost over, and we're just reaching by this point. I love it, though. You guys are amazing. All right. What do you think? You guys want to call it a show?
I don't know. What do the fans want? Let's take a vote.
Well, we
Let's
can't
wrap it up like a Reed Dick.
There's no interaction. But speaking of interaction, if you're still listening at this point, we do have that Black and Gold Hockey Podcast listener hotline. Please call 978-504-2727 to get involved. Leave us a brief voicemail, and I'll use that recording, and we'll put it onto next week's program. I know Mike Sullivan, Black and Gold writer, he did dial in, and I forgot to upload that audio, so I'll save it for next week. But want to get more phone calls and so on. I know Maria from Watertown wants to get involved in some of that stuff, and hopefully she does. So it's a fun way of interacting. And also the Discord, a link will be provided in the show notes below. So,
Mark, can you repeat that number slowly?
978-504-2727.
Slower for Dom, please.
No, I got it.
He just typed it into his flip phone.
He's calling.
He literally just typed it into his flip phone. Or is that a house phone, Dom?
He's leaving a message.
Oh, my God.
This is so funny. We're actually doing this. I can't believe it.
He's muted, so he's talking. He's probably going to say something about me eating a sandwich or, something along those lines,
I can't wait to listen to it later, though. All right, he's off the phone, and he's back.
I didn't mute anything. I just stored it in my phone.
Oh, okay. All right, well, that was a lot of fun.
I do know that Georgi Merkulov is going to listen to this episode, so hopefully he will call in and leave a question for us for next week.
Yeah, he's going to ask why you say his name the way you do.
Oh, you should see how how it came out in text. Yolanda Gmail comes off, and I'm just wondering what Kevin is going to have to eat today.
Yeah.
Yolanda Gmail.
Wow. Who's Yolanda?
I have no idea.
I have no idea either.
It's just the way the text was written on the phone. So, but anyway,
50 years ago, I went to school with a girl named Yolanda.
Yeah, I'm a Twitter friend. I have a Twitter friend named Yolanda.
That must be Dom's drag queen persona on the weekends when he goes and does drag at the clubs.
You got me.
There it is.
You got me. You got me.
Southern Ontario will never be the same.
Yolanda Tiano.
Oh my God.
All right, I'm going to reel this in and just let everybody know that is episode 292 of the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. I want to thank everybody for the support, the listens, the shares, the downloads. buying merch, which you can do in the show notes. And please interact with us on the Discord, and please call that number 978-504-2727 to get on the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast listener hotline. And also check out all the articles coming out on the blackandgoldhockey.com website as we get closer to the NHL season. We are from the Boston Bruins, and their first preseason game is 34 days and 7 hours away, while the first Bruins game is 52 days and 7 hours away. Looking forward to that. So it's coming quickly, but we have a lot of good content coming at you, including this weekly podcast and all the articles on the website and a lot of good other stuff. So, all right. With that being said, I'm Mark Allred. I'm the host. That's Kevin O'Keefe, and that's Mr. Dom Tiano. We are the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. We will talk to you next week. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting this week's episode of the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Please give the show a 5-star rating and write a review on listening platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. If you'd like to contact the show for advertising opportunities or to send us a question or topic idea we should be discussing, please send us an email to blackandgoldproductionsllc@gmail.com. Don't forget to share our program on your social media platforms with other hockey fans and follow our Twitter accounts at Black and Gold Pod, at BNG Productions, at Black and Gold 277, and at Kevin_O'Keefe89. Also, please don't forget to check out our official blackandgoldhockey.com website where we cover the Bruins organization from the NHL level down to the prospects worldwide. Peace out.